She was just a nurse getting creepy anonymous notes until the ice-cold billionaire she least expected stepped into her life without warning. The first note showed up on her workstation at 3 a.m., written in jagged ink, calling her by a nickname no one at the hospital used. The second note mentioned details from her past she'd never shared here. Down in the general ward, she felt like easy prey. Up on the VIP floor, wealth floated untouched like a different world. She didn't know who was watching her. But the third note, that one changed everything. Before we start, tell us from which city are you watching from, and don't forget to drop your thoughts at the end. Enjoy the story. Mara Ellison had learned early that no one was coming to save her. Growing up in a cramped walk-up off East 167th Street in the Bronx, she watched her grandmother work double shifts in a school cafeteria just to keep the lights on. It taught Mara the simple creed her grandmother repeated whenever life tilted too hard. Stand your ground, even when no one's watching. She carried it like a spine. Some people wore jewelry. Mara kept that sentence. She became a trauma nurse, not because she craved heroism, but because she understood what it meant to be overlooked. In a city where strangers brushed past without seeing each other, she chose a job that forced her to stay, to look, to steady trembling hands when the world spun too fast. The pay was never enough. The hours were too long, and she always had exactly $6.25 tucked into her scrub pocket, her emergency fund for a cheap meal or subway ride when shifts stretched into exhaustion. It wasn't much, but it was hers. The hospital where she worked, St. Alden Memorial, sat in the middle of Manhattan, like a monument split in two. The general ward, the side Mara lived in, was a maze of flickering lights, worn linoleum, and overworked staff who survived on tap water and vending machine dinners. But 4 floors above was the VIP wing. Polished marble hallways, private chefs, imported sparkling water, and patients whose last names appeared regularly in business journals. Mara didn't resent them. She just didn't expect anything from their world. She kept her head down, worked her shifts, and believed that doing things the right way mattered, even when it cost her sleep, pride, or safety. She didn't know yet that someone had decided she needed to be shaken off the ground she stood on. For the first time in months, Mara felt a small rise of hope, thin, fragile, but real. Earlier that week, her supervisor had pulled her aside and mentioned an unexpected opportunity. St. Alden's VIP wing was short-staffed due to a private client's discreet transfer. They needed a capable trauma nurse who could handle pressure, keep quiet, and maintain professionalism around high-profile patients. Mara fit the criteria, even if no one ever said her name with enthusiasm. If she managed a few successful shifts there, she'd be considered for a permanent dual assignment position. Better pay, more predictable hours, a chance to stop living from paycheck to paycheck, a chance to stop counting her $6.25 every time she needed to get home. It wasn't just money. It was legitimacy, stability, proof that her years of swallowing pride and pushing through exhaustion meant something. But if she failed, if anything went wrong, she'd lose more than the opportunity. A misstep in the VIP wing wasn't just a mistake, it was a stain. Word traveled fast in hospitals. A single accusation could follow her across the city, shutting doors before they opened. So she took the chance quietly, gripping her grandmother's creed as tightly as her badge. She didn't know what waited for her on that floor. The trouble began midway through her second shift on the VIP floor, right when Mara felt, for a brief moment, that she was finally finding her rhythm. She'd handled a difficult post-op case, soothed an anxious spouse, and completed her charts on time. Small wins, but they mattered. They made her believe she wasn't out of place here. Then she found the note. not tucked under her clipboard this time, not slipped behind a supply cart. It was inside a patient's medication tray, folded neatly, as though waiting for her. "You don't belong up here. Go back downstairs before someone gets hurt." Her stomach tightened. The handwriting was the same jagged slant as the other notes, but the message was bolder now. Direct, personal, threatening. She barely had time to process it before the shouting started. At the end of the corridor, a man in a tailored coat, Stephen Rourke, brother of a high-profile patient, stormed toward her with a fury that made everyone turn. He waved a vial in his hand, its label crumpled, its contents untouched. "You," he barked, stopping just inches from her. "Did you give my brother the wrong dosage? Trying to kill him?" Mara felt heat rush to her face. "Sir, I didn't dispense anything to your brother today. That medication isn't even. Don't lie to me." His voice boomed through the pristine hallway. "Your name is on the chart, isn't it? Or do they let anyone handle VIP patients?" Several nurses froze, unsure whether to intervene. A couple of wealthy visitors stepped back, as if contamination might reach them. Mara's pulse hammered. She knew she hadn't touched that tray. She knew this was wrong, fabricated. But in this wing, perception mattered more than truth. Her supervisor, Miss Halberd, arrived just in time to watch the scene unfold. Instead of calming it, she stiffened and said, "Mara, step aside. We'll review the incident." Incident. The word hit harder than the accusation. Rourke leaned closer, his breath sharp with expensive cologne. "People like you shouldn't be near people like us." He hissed quietly, low enough that only she heard. Mara opened her mouth to defend herself, but no words came. The humiliation spread hot across her skin. Eyes were on her, judgment forming, reputation cracking. Her fragile hope collapsed in one public, unforgiving moment. And somewhere behind the cluster of onlookers, someone watched silently. Someone who knew exactly what had been planted and why. Arden Vale had come to St. Alden Memorial for reasons he allowed almost no one to know. Not the board members who trembled at his presence. Not the executives who tried to read his expression. Not even the hospital director who escorted him personally to the private suite reserved for him. Arden valued silence, efficiency, and invisibility, and the hospital's VIP wing usually offered all three. But the moment Stephen Rourke's shouting ricocheted off the marble walls, Arden paused outside his father's sealed room, listening with the detached interest of a man who rarely encountered chaos he didn't control. From where he stood, he had a direct line of sight down the corridor. He watched the nurse, small-framed, steady-eyed, try to speak while Rourke towered over her, spit flying with every accusation. Arden recognized fear when he saw it, but this wasn't the crumbling kind. It was contained, pulsing under the surface, like someone raised to endure pressure rather than collapse beneath it. He also recognized a setup. Rourke waved a medication vial, its label freshly creased. Too freshly. Arden had spent most of his life reading subtleties people tried to hide. The tremor in a hand before a lie. The slight misalignment of a forged document. The way someone held an object that wasn't truly theirs. He noticed the vial had a fingerprint smudge that didn't match the placement Mara's grip would have left. He noticed the timestamp discrepancy on the chart Rourke flashed. He noticed the fear in the other nurses' faces. Not fear of a mistake, but fear of crossing wealth. Arden had seen this dynamic since childhood. Money weaponized, not for need, but for dominance. His own family mastered it. Rourke's performance was amateur in comparison, but effective enough for those who didn't dare question a man of influence. He watched as Mara's supervisor stepped forward, not to defend her, but to align herself with power. Typical, Arden thought. People like Halberd built careers by bending around money. His jaw tightened, though no emotion flickered across his otherwise unreadable face. He wasn't moved by pity for the nurse. He wasn't built for empathy he couldn't rationalize. But he did respond to lies, especially sloppy ones. He despised them in business, politics, and negotiations, and he despised them even more when used against people who lacked the power to fight back. Arden observed Mara's silence, the way she swallowed humiliation without breaking posture. A person who stood their ground even when losing. Interesting. He stepped forward, hands in his pockets, expression cool, not to rescue her, not to comfort, and because something here didn't add up. And he had never been able to walk away from a lie. Later. Contents. May be about it. Arden didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His presence alone shifted the hallway's atmosphere, thinning the noise as if someone had turned down a dial no one realized existed. Stephen Rourke stopped mid-tirade when Arden stepped into view. Sharp suit, unreadable expression, hands casually in his pockets like a man accustomed to owning the room without announcing it. "Is there a problem?" Arden asked, tone flat, almost bored, but those who knew him understood the danger hidden in that calm. Rourke straightened immediately. "Mr. Vale, I didn't realize you were on this floor. You didn't answer my question." Arden's gaze flicked briefly toward Mara, not lingering, just registering. Then back to Rourke. "What exactly is the issue?" Rourke puffed up again, but the bravado had thinned. "This nurse administered the wrong dosage to my brother. She could have." Arden cut him off with a slight tilt of his head, the kind that made people rethink their words. "Did she?" he asked. "Or did you simply find a vial and decide whom to blame?" The hallway stilled. Mara blinked, unsure if she'd heard him correctly. Her supervisor stiffened like someone realizing the ground beneath her had shifted. Rourke laughed, though it cracked at the edges. "I'm not making this up. The evidence is right here." Arden extended a hand. "Let me see it." Rourke hesitated. Fatal mistake. He placed the vial in Arden's palm. Arden examined the label once, then again, turning it in his fingers with the effortless precision of someone who lived in details. The timestamp is from an hour when Nurse Ellison, he read her badge without looking up, was logged on the trauma floor downstairs, not here. His voice stayed calm, logical. "And this vial belongs to a medication your brother isn't prescribed. It was taken from the supply station 2 doors down, the one you walked past before your outburst." A soft ripple moved through the staff. Arden handed the vial back with a dismissive flick. "If you're going to fabricate incompetence, at least learn the system." Rourke's face flushed crimson. "You're accusing me of carelessness," Arden said simply, "and disruption of patient care." Miss Halberd immediately shifted tone. "Mr. Rourke, perhaps this was a misunderstanding. Let's all take a step." "No." Arden's voice slid like ice. "What should take a step is your approach to accountability." Everyone fell silent, and Mara, still humiliated, still shaken, felt the entire weight of the moment change direction without warning. She didn't know why a billionaire had just dismantled an accusation that could have destroyed her. She didn't trust it, she didn't trust him. But she also knew this intervention, unwanted as it was, had just rewritten the course of her job, her reputation, and her safety. Rourke muttered something under his breath and stormed away, humiliated in the very hallway where he'd tried to shame her. Arden turned to leave, already done with the matter. But Mara couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't help. This was something else, something colder, calculated, and far from over. Mara barely had time to steady her breath before Miss Halberd motioned sharply for her to follow. They stepped into a small staff room, fluorescent lights buzzing, metal chairs stacked against the wall. The door shut with a hard click. Halberd crossed her arms. "Do you have any idea how that looked?" Mara swallowed. "I didn't do anything wrong." "That's not the point," Halberd snapped. "The VIP wing runs on discretion, not drama. A complaint from someone like Stephen Rourke can ruin our funding stream for the entire quarter. So I'm supposed to accept blame for something I didn't do?" Mara asked, voice low but steady. Halberd's eyes narrowed. When survival meant swallowing pride. "I won't stand down for a lie," she said quietly. "My grandmother taught me better than that. Stand your ground, even when no one's watching." Halberd scoffed. "That kind of idealism is why people like you never make it far here. You don't bend. People who don't bend, break." "I bend," Mara said, "but not for something false." Halberd stepped closer, her authority thick in the air. "You're on thin ice, Nurse Ellison. Don't mistake Mr. Vale's interruption as protection. Men like him don't care about nurses. He helped because it amused him, nothing more." Mara's jaw clenched, not at the insult, but at the truth she feared buried within it. Halberd straightened her jacket. "One more disruption and you're off this floor. Possibly off this hospital." She opened the door, dismissing her. "Choose your battles carefully." Mara walked out, pulse pounding, knowing this wasn't the final battle at all. It was only the beginning. Mara walked out of the staff room feeling both hollow and burning, like someone had scooped out her insides but left the fire behind. She kept her head down as she crossed the corridor, avoiding the curious glances from nurses who had watched the confrontation like a quiet spectacle. They didn't ask if she was okay. They didn't need to. Everyone here knew how quickly the hospital machine chewed people up. She rounded the corner toward the supply station when she saw him leaning against the wall. Arden Vale, posture straight, expression unreadable, as if he'd been waiting without admitting he'd waited. "You should have spoken up sooner," he said, voice flat. She stopped several feet away. "Excuse me?" "You froze," he continued, eyes flicking toward her, just briefly. "People like Rourke capitalize on silence. If you let them corner you." "I didn't let him do anything," she snapped, louder than intended. A passing visitor glanced over. She lowered her tone. "I didn't freeze. I calculated. You don't survive long in my world by shouting back at people like him." Arden studied her, not impressed, not offended, just evaluating. "You think enduring humiliation is strength?" "I think choosing when to fight is strength," she said. "And what you did out there, that wasn't for me." Pause, his jaw tightened slightly. "I don't do favors." "Exactly," she said. "So, don't pretend it was charity." He stepped closer, not threatening, but with a precision that suggested he was accustomed to entering people's space without asking permission. "If I wanted to offer charity," he said slowly, "you would know. I intervened because his accusation was sloppy and a danger to the patient." "Right," Mara said, "because that's all this is for you. A system error, a miscalculation." "That's how the world works," Arden replied. "The motion clouds judgment." She let out a short, humorless laugh. "Emotion is all people like me have left. You come in here with your expensive suit and your perfect logic, and you think you understand everything. But you don't know what it's like to have your job, your name, your survival hinge on someone else's opinion." Arden's eyes narrowed, slightly, an almost imperceptible shift. "You think I don't know about survival? I think you've never had to count $6.25 just to get home after a shift," she shot back. Silence, stretched, charged, and sharp. Finally, Arden said, "You're angry at the wrong person. And you're standing in the wrong hallway," she replied, stepping past him. "I can fight my own battles." He didn't stop her, but he did turn, watching her walk away, something unsettled flickering behind his controlled exterior. Neither of them knew it, but the fallout of this moment would bind them closer than either wanted. And much sooner than they expected. The forced partnership arrived the next morning, without warning, without apology, and without room for either of them to refuse. Mara had barely clocked in when Miss Halberd informed her, clipped and expressionless, that she would be reassigned for the next several days to a confidential case. No rotation, no option to decline. "The patient is under Mr. Vale's guardianship," Halberd said. "You're to follow his directives and maintain discretion." Mara stiffened. "I didn't agree to work with him." Halberd gave a thin smile. "Consider it an opportunity you can't afford to waste." Minutes later, Mara found herself outside a sealed, private suite, badge trembling slightly in her hand. Arden stood inside with a physician, reviewing a chart with the same cold precision he applied to everything. The moment she entered, his gaze flicked toward her, cool, assessing, unreadable. "Nurse Ellison," he said, "you'll be assisting with my father's post-operative monitoring." It wasn't a request. The room itself was a different world, quiet, dimly lit, infused with the sterile scent of machines and antiseptic. Arden's father lay unconscious, connected to more monitors than Mara could count. Privilege wrapped around the space in every detail. Specialist equipment, private technicians on standby, a stocked cart of supplies no general ward had access to. Their first task required close coordination, medication checks, fluid adjustments, and carefully timed assessments. They worked in silence, movements fitting together awkwardly at first, like gears that weren't meant to mesh. Arden asked clipped, precise questions. Mara answered in short, steady sentences. He watched everything, her posture, her decisions, the way she recalibrated a pump without hesitation, not judging, measuring. And though she refused to look at him for more than a second at a time, she sensed a shift. Not friendliness, not softness, recognition. He saw she wasn't fragile. She saw he wasn't merely cold. He was burdened. By the end of the shift, they still didn't trust each other. But now they understood. They were stuck in the same assignment, tied to the same outcome. Whether they liked it or not. It happened on the third night. Quietly, without theatrics, in the kind of hour when the hospital felt suspended between breaths. Mara had stepped onto the rooftop terrace, reserved for staff breaks, needing a moment away from the rhythmic hum of machines and the constant pressure of being observed. Tap water in a paper cup sat sweating in her hand. She leaned against the railing, letting the cold air settle her thoughts. She didn't expect Arden to be there. He stood several feet away, facing the Manhattan skyline, back straight, coat untouched by the wind. A bottle of sparkling water rested beside him, imported, untouched, unnecessary. He didn't look at her, but he didn't leave either. The silence between them felt cautious, like neither wanted to acknowledge that the partnership had begun to mean something more complicated than obligation. "You don't take breaks," Mara said quietly, more observation than question. Arden's voice came slow, measured. "I can't afford them." She thought it was a joke at first, but something in his tone, flat, hollow, told her it wasn't. He continued, "If I step away, even for a moment, something falls apart. A deal, a decision, a reputation." His jaw tightened. Or a person. Mara studied him. The harshness she had assumed was arrogance was something else. Armor, responsibility, burden. "You think money keeps you safe," she said gently. "But it traps you too, doesn't it?" He didn't deny it. He didn't even pretend to. "You think standing still is survival," Arden replied, turning to face her. "But that's its own prison. You endure everything alone because the world taught you no one will stand with you." His words hit deeper than she expected. For a moment, the distance between their realities, the Bronx and the penthouse, tap water, and imported sparkling, paychecks and portfolios, blurred. Two different kinds of cages, two different kinds of fear. Mara looked down at the cup in her hands. "Someone's been watching me," she admitted softly. "Those notes, they're not random, and I think they're connected to your father's case." Arden's expression sharpened, controlled but alert. "I know." The wind carried a long, quiet moment between them. "Then why didn't you say anything?" she asked. "Because," he said, voice low, "I needed to know whether you would stand your ground when no one was watching." Her breath caught. Her grandmother's creed, spoken back to her from a man who shouldn't have known it. They looked at each other with new awareness. Not alliance, not trust, but understanding. Two people trapped differently, converging at the same point, and neither of them could turn back now. The reckoning came during a closed-door administrative review, one of those tense hospital meetings where titles mattered more than truth. Executives, department heads, and wealthy donors filled the polished conference room. Mara stood near the end of the long table, palms damp but posture steady. She wasn't supposed to speak. She was only there for protocol. But Arden arrived unannounced. Conversation died instantly. He placed a folder on the table. Security footage, access logs, timestamps, and the vial records he and Mara had quietly collected. Evidence showing that Stephen Rourke had entered the restricted medication room minutes before the accusation. Evidence proving Mara had been downstairs at the exact time logged. Evidence revealing the anonymous notes were traced to a former tech trying to manipulate the VIP selection process for financial gain. Arden didn't raise his voice. He simply stated facts. Then he stepped back, leaving space for Mara. She lifted her chin, repeating the family creed softly but firmly. "Stand your ground, even when no one's watching." The room fell silent. Executives shifted uncomfortably. Donors avoided eye contact, and Ms. Halbert paled. And for the first time, Mara wasn't the one on trial. The power had turned. The truth was finally hers. The night shift corridor looked exactly as it had the first time Mara found a note there. Quiet, half-lit, and echoing with the steady hum of distant monitors. But tonight, the space felt different. Lighter, less predatory, as if the shadows that once watched her had finally been cleared out. She reached into her scrub pocket and felt the familiar coins and crumpled bills. $6.25. The emergency amount she had carried for months. Survival money. Pride money. The last thing no one could take from her. A new trainee passed by hesitantly, wide-eyed and overwhelmed. Mara recognized the look instantly. She stopped her, pressed the $6.25 into her hand. "For when you need a ride home," she said gently, "or just a little proof you can make it through the night." The trainee blinked, touched. "Are you sure?" Mara nodded. "Stand your ground," she said softly, "even when no one's watching." At the far end of the hallway, Arden passed by with a subtle nod. Not intrusive, not claiming credit, not expecting thanks, just acknowledgement. Mutual respect. A strange, quiet bond formed in the fire of accusation and truth. The hospital doors slid open for the morning shift, washing warm light into the corridor. And for the first time in a long while, Mara stepped forward without looking over her shoulder. Some people move through the world unnoticed until the moment life forces them to rise. Mara Ellison didn't ask for a battle with power or a collision with a billionaire's world, but she met both with a steady spine and a quiet truth. In the end, courage wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was a nurse in a dim hallway, choosing dignity over fear, even when no one was watching. If this story made you pause or reminded you of the strength you carry, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing for more stories like this one.